What is going on, everybody? Back with another episode of Downtime Re-Up. Today, the day is December 29th,
Yep.
2023, 2024, right around the corner. And as y'all see, we have a guest with us today, somebody else in George's space. George is still not with us. He's a
Missing
little
in action,
busy,
bro.
a little busy. But today we have,
What's your
who
name?
do we have?
Tony,
Carter?
what's up? I'm Tony. I'm Carter's cousin. Um, just your average Joe.
What do you know about sports?
I know enough. I'm a Cowboys, Mavericks, and Rangers fan. So
Yeah, he's got the Dolis Garcia jersey on.
I'd love to see it.
And Xavier's got the Texas Rangers World Champion sweater looking nice. And I'm wearing the AC Milan Pulisic jersey that my girlfriend got for me recently. So shout out to her.
W girlfriend.
W.
But I think today we're going to be starting with who, Xavier? Who are we starting with today?
Well, I'm already on the way. We started with a heartbreaking loss against the Miami Dolphins last Sunday. The score was 20-22. Man, the first half was really hard for our offense for sure, especially that second quarter scoring 0 points. We really needed our offense to kind of pick it up that first half.
Yeah.
They did slowly the second half, but I feel like it was a little too late.
Yeah, I agree, man. I was a little frustrated with the game myself. I thought that the offense could have performed a little bit better. I think the defense, for the most part, held its own.
No, yeah, for sure.
But it's just one of those games where I felt like the refs cheated us a lot. Micah Parsons still not getting any calls.
There was a crazy hold on him. Just
Yeah,
holding him.
crazy. There was like even people watching at home could see like just blatant holding calls. On the last drive, there was a holding call that really determined the game in my opinion. If they get that holding call, they're 10 yards back and the chance of them getting into field goal range lowers significantly, and we more than likely win that game. But instead, that run gives them the first down. They're in field goal range, and from there, that's kind of all she wrote.
No, yeah, for sure. It's just I feel like we really needed, especially the second half, we needed to stop Tyreek Hill. That's when he really went off. That first half, he maybe had like one or two catch, maybe three,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden that third to fourth quarter, I don't know what happened. They started giving him the ball more. He was just starting to explode, starting to get back to his rhythm again after that
Yeah.
time off.
And I mean, Tyreek Hill, a really hard task. But, whenever for most of the plays they were missing Waddle and Mostert wasn't doing his best, he was hurt from time to time there during the game. Sometimes you just gotta double him, man. Double Tyreek, just hope with one safety over the top is gonna be able to handle anything, because most of the time you're playing two safeties over the top because you're scared Tyreek or Waddle's gonna go on a streak and you want somebody to be there. But if you're just doubling Tyreek straight up, you don't have to worry as much about that vertical threat because you'll have two people on him, hopefully doing a good job. But I think Dan Quinn, we held Miami to 22 points, which is a good thing. But I definitely feel like if that game is just coached defensively a little bit better, that we keep him to, I don't know, 10.
Yeah.
I think that's very possible. So yeah, I think we just a little bit defensively we need to be a little bit better. I think offensively we need to start finding a momentum. We struggled
Well, we'll find our
really heavily.
momentum, but then we would get caught on some crazy holding calls. We had like 4 or 5 holding calls from
Yeah.
our offense. Again,
Yeah.
that will destroy any run we're trying to do.
And
score.
we're one of the most penalized teams in the league.
The most.
So that kills drives and that accelerates drives for your opponent. If you're getting constant DPIs and constant roughing the passers and things like that, even if they're good calls or not good calls, they're still being called. And when that's happening on defense, the offense of the other team is going to get going because you're giving them multiple opportunities. And then when that happens to you on offense, your offense is going to struggle heavily because you're always playing for more than 10 yards on every down, because you're always getting flags. You're always needing 15, 20 yards for another first down. And we're constantly at a disadvantage. So
We had from our receiving core, obviously, CeeDee Lamb over 100 yards. I think that's gonna be a every game thing. hopefully
Yeah,
for the rest of
yeah,
the season.
for sure. Yeah, CD started
Um,
really well. I kind of wish they included him more second quarter,
yeah,
third
he only
quarter.
had 6 catches for the whole game.
Yeah, and I had like four of them came in the first quarter,
First quarter, yep.
like the first two drives.
We started trying to hit Michael Gallup a little bit more. I saw that, but man, that terrible game from him. Only 2 recorded catches for 4 yards.
Yeah,
This is, I think one of them was for -4. I think if I remember correctly, he went backwards.
yeah, and I mean I think a real, you know, game defining play that you think about it, you look back at the game, you're like, if we would have just done better here, we would have won the game. Is that first drive whenever we didn't get in on the 1 yard line
Absolutely.
when Tony Pollard, for some reason,
We
as a
should have ran it.
fast running back, didn't A, go for the pylon, or B, just try trucking his way through. He tried like doing like a half-ass kind of spin to get in. And, you know, Tony
Yeah.
Pollard isn't some huge running back. You know, maybe if Dowdle does that, he gets in. But then after that, on the 1 yard line, our
gets sacked.
fullback fumbles.
No, I thought we got sacked. No, that was after. That was later on in the game.
That was
happened.
later, yeah. Our fullback fumbles, which, you know, you can debate it was a bad call, but it would have worked if he would have held on to the
Held
ball.
on.
He was in the end zone just without the ball.
Without the ball, yeah.
So it would have worked if he would have just held on to the ball. So you can say that it was a bad call because you're giving it to an unexperienced fullback instead of just sneaking it. But in reality, it would have worked. If he would have just held on to the ball, it was just kind of an unfortunate thing that happened. And I'm not sure if Dak handed it off wrong or he didn't place his hands correctly. That's something between Dak and the fullback to understand.
Yep.
But I think definitely if we score a touchdown there, we're up 7-0 off the jump. Our defense is playing relaxed, and we probably go down and score again like we did on the second drive. We went down and scored. Just like that, the game's 14-0, and their crowd is silent, and they're panicking.
Absolutely. That first drive would have changed so much for the game. I know that, like it says, I think one of the stats, we haven't lost a single game this season when we score first.
Right, and I think that we've lost most of the games whenever they score first. Yep. So it's definitely I don't know if it's like a pressure problem whenever the other team scores first, if it's a confidence problem, but it's something that needs to be brought under control by the head coach and the defensive coordinator.
Tony, so what do you think about the game from here?
Tell you what,
the stats you see here.
That game wasn't their best performance. Cowboys, they have one of the best offenses, been proven time and time again in the whole NFL. And honestly, people could say it was Dak's fault, but Dak didn't throw this game. They didn't throw the game this time, and I'm not a Dak fan, so for me to say that takes a lot. We didn't do our thing, but I'll tell you what, those Dolphins are crazy. They've been going really crazy. A couple years ago, they weren't making any playing moves, but Tua's been going off lately. Didn't he just come back from a concussion not that long ago and several injuries?
Yeah, he sure did. There was a concussion last year, right?
Yeah,
This dude's been going off, man. He's been doing all sorts of crazy stuff. I mean, they're 11-4. You looked a year or two ago, the Dolphins weren't even making anything in the charts, so they're kind of going off. And I'm a Cowboys fan. It hurts to say that.
Yeah, man. As far as Tua goes, I think he's a viable quarterback, but I think Dak is miles ahead of him.
Absolutely.
Tua, he can make these over the head throws to these really fast receivers in Waddle and Tyreek Hill. And a lot of quarterbacks would just dream to have the opportunity to just send, over the head ball, over the head ball, over the head ball, over the head ball.
They got hit with one of the runs, one of the drives, like 2 in a row. The one to Tyreek, they dropped.
Yeah.
And then one right after, right to Waddle.
Yeah. Yeah, and he caught that one. And it's just like, I think that Tua, like I said, is a viable quarterback, but if he's forced to play quarterback, other than just throwing the ball over the shoulder or dumping it off to Tyreek and most of the yards coming after the catch,
he'll be an average quarterback.
He's just an average quarterback. You see it. He misses easy throws in the middle of the field, especially going a little bit cross body. He struggles heavily. So I just think that, if we were better at eliminating the long ball, and our linebackers were more, coverage linebackers. We're a little bit more experienced because our linebacker core is really struggling right now. If we just had a little bit more experience, like we have that a Leighton Vander Esch still there,
Mm,
you know, I think we would have been able to, like I said, easily keep this team to 10 points instead.
absolutely, absolutely agree.
But
I
going on from there, let's talk about a little bit of Mavericks.
We don't have our
I mean,
Maverick super fan here today.
Our Mavericks aficionado.
Yeah, sadly. First game, Cleveland Cavaliers versus Dallas Mavericks. Honestly, just looking at the teams, we should have won this game. We
Yeah.
were absolutely dominating first and second quarter. And all of a sudden, they just picked it up a notch after halftime. Apparently, they started outscoring us by over almost double digits. That's something we can't do, and that's been a problem for the Mavericks. Man, since the last season, pretty much, we cannot hold a lead for our life, and it's still a problem to this day. And we need to figure something out, especially right now, if we want to make a deep playoff run.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. I don't know what happens. I mean, even here looking at the game flow, you can see the Mavericks like going into halfway through the first, they were way ahead of the Cavs. They were playing better. Luka was going crazy. It was uh it was going very well. But then I think going into the third, Kid was playing a little bit too safe with Luka. Luka wanted to go back in the game in the third and in the fourth, but Kid just struggling in the crunch time again. Going back to last season in the crunch, not knowing what the correct place to call, who to get the ball to, and things like that. And that's what happened. We had this game in the bag at halftime. And like we always talk about, you have to come out strong throughout the second half. It's not just a one half game because if you let off the gas that's it. Maybe they were managing a Luka injury. That's possible because he didn't play the next game.
But that's when our other players that we signed to support Luca should be able to step up in those key moments when he's not there.
Right.
And having these 1 for 5, 0 for 4, 1 for 3, 0 for 4 type games is gonna do nothing for us. The only one that somewhat showed up to help Luca was Seth Curry with 5 for 9.
Yeah, and even I actually didn't see the final shot of the game, but I know that it was a Seth Curry shot that ended up getting blocked.
Yep.
Um, but at that time, yeah, maybe Seth Curry had the better shot, but you much rather die with Luka shooting the ball and with the ball in Luka's hands.
Yes, it looked like there was a lot of miscommunication with that play too. It looked like he was trying to call for a screen and no one was running up to him at all. He was just getting double teamed up there and no one was helping him at all. I don't know what they're gonna expect him to shoot a half court shot getting double teamed.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that's on the coach. Either the play wasn't written correctly, or it wasn't practiced correctly, or the players aren't just disciplined enough to run the play right because of the coach. That's what it comes down to.
Absolutely, the coach is the one that designs plays and makes them practice these plays, and they have to be game ready for these situations. They probably don't think these situations will happen, but they will. You never know. And just for our star player to get double teamed up on the top of the key, no one to pass to, is something you really can't let happen, especially in a key game right now.
Yeah, and even the Cavs were missing Donovan Mitchell and
Evan Mobley.
Evan Mobley, and it's like this is a must-win game. Yes, we're missing Kyrie, but still, you have Luka Doncic, and that was notable. Like I said, going into half, even in most of the third quarter, you have Luka Doncic. You don't need anything more to beat a team missing two of their three best players. So, but yeah, I mean, what do you think, Tony? I'm pretty sure, Tony, you didn't watch like most of the game, but just from seeing like the box score and from hearing what we've said, what do you think?
I mean, along with what you said, yeah, Luca, you don't need anything. If you have your two star players missing, and we have one of the best NBA players, at least right now, in my opinion. Besides people who've been in the league for a while now, there was no reason that we should have lost the game how we did. They didn't perform, and I mean Luca's been going crazy. So yeah, I don't see why we didn't keep the lead. Like you said, we've been having trouble keeping leads, but it's it shouldn't have been as bad as it was. And with Luca, I mean, in my opinion, he's one of the best NBA players right now. At least putting numbers, who hasn't been in the league. For example, like he's been already in the league for quite a while, and obviously LeBron's gonna put numbers. He's goaded, but I feel like Luca's underrated when it comes to getting titles and getting to any news articles or anything. There's not as much media coverage as it should be.
Yeah, and I think that's in part because the team isn't having the success it should be having. And you can debate who that falls on. Does it fall on Jason Kidd? Does it fall on the GM for not getting him the players that he needs around him? That's all up for debate. We brought in Kyrie, we brought in Grant Williams, but
Seth
then you still
Curry.
look at it and a lot of our people are minimum free agents. DJJ was a minimum free agent. I think we got Seth Curry on the low.
Oh, yeah, very cheap.
We got Dwight Powell for almost a minimum for a vet.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these players are not these standout great players. And if you think about it, if we didn't hit with Derek Lively and Derek Lively wasn't ready for the NBA and we needed a year or two to develop,
This team will look a
we would
whole
have
lot different.
been probably under 500 if we're being honest. Because Derek Lively himself, just being a presence, has won multiple of these games for us. So,
It's so sad because a lot of people look at the Mavericks and they see us at this 3-point shooting team that we go down the court and that's the first thing we look for is threes, threes, threes. And that's something so far we've been lacking most of the season, really.
yeah.
We'll have obviously games that will shoot lights out, but it's not in a consistent basis to win multiple games.
Yeah, and in this game, where we did need a little bit of 3-point shooting to probably win, we
Nowhere to be
shot
seen.
27% from three, man. That's just not acceptable, regardless if we're a 3-point shooting team or not. As an NBA team, you should at
Terrible.
least be shooting 30% at your worst. So,
What do y'all boys think about the NBA just approved the stakes on Mark Cuban to be sold? As far as any NBA team, I think Mark Cuban is one of the best owners in the NBA, in my opinion. He really cares for his players. He cares to see the team excel, and he really just all around like Mark Cuban's a really good guy.
yeah.
I absolutely agree. We have one of the better GMs out there for sure. But going on to the next game, we have another heartbreaking loss once again with the Dallas Mavericks versus Minnesota Timberwolves. Once again, Luca doing his thing. He was going off, absolutely going crazy. Oh wait, no, he was. I think.
Luka didn't play.
Yeah, I was like he didn't play. I just remember keep seeing stuff about him. It was another. I think honestly should have won, but Ant went off. He was
Yeah.
making some crazy fadeaway against Hardy. I don't know if you've seen the clip.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to stick on this game too long. It was a game. We had no Luka, no Kyrie. Uh, who else was missing? Was Grant Williams out? I know Maxey was out.
Why is it not showing me? Did not. It's only showing me these.
Just who do you not see that you usually do?
Tim Hardaway, Dirk Powell, Seth Curry, Josh Green. No,
Oh,
just
so
them two.
for the main part, just Luka,
Yeah.
Kyrie, and Maxey.
Was it for a quad injury?
Yeah, Luka
Okay,
has
that's
been
right.
kind of nursing a quad injury. Kyrie still with his heel, and Maxey with his toe. But yeah, I mean, there's no point in talking about this game too much. We're missing our two best players, our two biggest playmakers. You were kind of just giving the ball to Hardy and Curry and just saying, "Here, make something happen. Shoot when you're open." Same thing with THJ. There's no point in trying to judge the team off of this game, and there's no point of trying to judge Lively off of this game either because, like I said, he doesn't have his two biggest playmakers, and he's playing against Cat and Gobert. So as a rookie, yes, he's been fantastic, but playing against Cat and Gobert, veterans in the league, all stars, no doubt about it. It's just expecting too much for him to dominate the way that he does dominate against other centers. Maybe if it was just Gobert or just against Cat, then maybe he could have put up little bit of better of a fight. But when it's both of them, there's no point in being too rough on him.
Yeah.
So.
And then seeing Anthony Edwards had a heck of a game, 44 points.
Oh yeah.
That man's becoming something special. That's for sure. He was making some crazy moves out there. 6 for 11, 14 out of 18 free throws. Just a good game in general from him.
Yeah, and there's a reason that the Timberwolves are the top of the West.
23-7.
They're a good team. Their two big men have been playing fantastic. Anthony Edwards is bona fide all-star. So, I mean, they shot 51% from three. It's going to be hard to beat a team when they're shooting 51% from three. And you're missing your two best players. I would just say props to the Mavs for hanging in there and making it a close game. This game could have easily been a blowout.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, everybody kind of played their part and we hung in there. But I think something that I'm going to look at and not poke too much at is that Lively had 15 minutes played and 5 fouls. That's a little bit concerning, but we've known Lively's had a little bit of a foul problem. This is kind of a known thing with him, but I just think that 15 minutes and 5 fouls is quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to be too hard on him. He's still learning. He was probably trying to make up.
Stats.
Probably trying to make up for the fact that he felt like he had to do more, and at his age, being rookie, playing against who he was playing against, it's okay.
Yes.
We're not going to be too hard on him. But what do you think, Tony? Looking at these games and
just in general, these last two games.
just in general.
I mean, yeah, like you said, Kyrie's out. Most of our star players were out this game, so they did what they did to hold their ground. They didn't take too much of a loss, but I mean, they held their ground. And as far as stats wise, they didn't lose too bad. They've been holding their ground. They've been staying stable. But yeah, like you said, in the last game, they have a lead problem where they can't keep the lead going. And I mean, I hope to see Kyrie and everybody back and see how we do. I don't think the Mavericks in a whole get a lot of media coverage. And, I mean, they've been performing. I don't keep up with basketball as much as I'd like to. But, I mean, every time I look at a Mavericks game, they either performed or they lost by, like, very little compared to other teams that aren't even making stats and are getting media coverage.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
Speaking of teams the Pistons are getting so much media coverage to the point where even I was watching the Pistons Boston game last night in the hope that they're gonna win, man. It's so crazy. Everybody's rooting for them to win, and I'm one of those people. I want to see them win, man. I don't want to see them break this loss record, but like,
I feel bad for Cade Cunningham.
I feel bad for Cade Cunningham. He's playing out his heart and soul. Jalen Duran, he's playing his heart and soul out, but I don't know what it is. Usually when this happens too, you fire your coach.
Something changes.
Yeah, something changes, but nothing changed. They've stayed consistent in how they've been playing. As far as I can see, maybe a Pistons fan could tell you, oh, well, actually, they've changed this and they've changed this a little bit, trying to make a difference. But from an outsider's perspective, they're kind of just pushing the same thing out there and hoping it sticks eventually. You can't just keep losing, right? Which is what most people would say.
Correctly, at the start of the season, they were hyping themselves up to be a contender. That's not really a contender, but at least a playoff contender this year. And just seeing them fall down this hard.
Yeah, I did not think the Pistons were going to be this bad.
They don't look that bad on paper
at
all.
On paper, they don't look like a 27 or whatever team.
They're 28 now because they lost the Celtics, right?
Yeah, in overtime. And for all those Pistons fans out there, man, I hope y'all get y'all's Wingstop eventually, for real, man. It'll happen, but we'll see next game. We don't play y'all till I think March, so hopefully by then y'all have a win.
Well, tell us about what's been going on with the Stars lately. We haven't caught up with them maybe 1 week, 2 weeks now.
Yeah, man. It's been a minute.
So how are the Stars going? We winning games.
So first off, if y'all do want to keep up with the Stars, we keep up with them every few days on our podcast Instagram, downtime_reup, if y'all want to go give that a follow. As you can see, most of the stuff here really is Star stuff. Then you'll have some Cowboys mixed in, and some Mavericks
Signings.
mixed in,
Or
some signings as you see here. So just if you want to keep up with DFW stuff and want a link so that you can be able to see all where all the podcasts are, downtown re-up, downtown _re-up on Instagram is where you want to go. But as far as talking about them here, so the Stars, I think as of late have been much better than they were when we last time talked about them. Last time we
Mhm.
talked about them, they were kind of skidding a little bit, not, like a crazy losing streak or anything like that. But they've been doing pretty well here. They've lost to the Blues twice, which I feel like as a team we should be beating,
Yep.
but that's okay because we beat the Canucks and we beat the Predators. So I feel like that makes up a little bit for it, especially the Canucks. The Canucks are a pretty good team. So being able to beat the Canucks, even if it went into overtime, is pretty good. I would like for these games that we're winning to be a little bit less closer. That Kraken game went into overtime. The Canucks game went into overtime. And it took 2 goals in like 30 seconds against the Predators to get that win. So I would like us to win a little bit more convincing. Maybe here against the Blackhawks, a team that, struggling a little bit, but they have that really exciting rookie. I forgot what his name is, like Bedard or something like that. Connor Bedard, I think. He did the Michigan actually a few days ago, which was crazy. I've never seen anybody do that in an actual game other than in an NHL, the video game.
NHL.
So that was crazy seeing a kid, 19, 20 years old, in the NHL doing that to grown men, to a grown goalkeeper. But yeah, we have this back to back with the Blackhawks. I think that these both should be wins, and at least one of them needs to be a convincing win, a 3-goal win, a 4-goal
6-1.
win. Yeah, even a 6-1 win. I think that these have to be wins, and at least one of them needs to be a convincing win for me to feel better about the Stars going forward. I feel good about them, but like I said, these close wins, especially against teams that we should be winning by a little bit more, I feel like they should just be definite wins. But as you see here, our last 6 games were decided all by 1 goal. So, you know, there's nothing to be concerned about. But I would like to see them win just a statement game, you know?
Absolutely. At least they're finishing their games off. They went 1, 2, 3, 4. They went 4 for 2. The last
4-2, yeah, 4-2,
last
yeah,
6 games.
in their last 6. But
Um,
yeah, I mean, Duchesne has been the signing, the signing of the offseason for us. He's been incredible. Jamie Benn has been doing good. Robertson's been doing his thing. I think I want Hintz to start, pushing a little bit more. Hintz has been good, but we know what kind of player Hintz can be, especially looking back at the playoffs last season. He can be even more. So I feel like we need to see a little bit more from him. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Heiskanen. You can see Suter's age a little bit, but he's still definitely a top line defenseman. And I hope we get Ottinger back soon, and not just Ottinger, but the Ottinger from last season, man. I think that Ottinger this season's been struggling a little bit, barely hanging above a 900 save percentage. I want to get him back up to at least a 910 save percentage, man, because Ottinger is a fantastic goalkeeper. But
like a 91%.
yeah, for the most part, he's around 91, 92% for the most
I
part.
don't know much hockey, but that's kind of crazy of a percentage.
It is a crazy percentage, and when you think about it, like, man, 90% is still really good, but
Yeah.
when you think about the amount of shots a goalie takes, a lot of the times you're getting 30 to 40 shots a game, and if you only have a 90 save percentage, that's 3-4 goals, you know. So you definitely want it towards 91, especially if you could get it to 92. That would be crazy, man. That would be crazy good. And I know that Ottinger can do that. I know he can get back there. He just needs to get healthy. And when he comes back, I'm sure that he'll just click a switch and he'll be back in that mode. We did see him struggling a little bit going into the late playoffs last year, and it kind of rolled over a little bit into this year. But like I said, young goalie, great goalie. I think he just needs a second to refresh. Maybe this injury will give him that opportunity, and he'll flip that switch and he'll go back to being that, that game changing goalie that we know that we have. So that's about how I feel about how the Stars have been doing, and Yeah, man. Let's see how they do from here on out.
So now we're gonna talk about a little bit, nothing long, probably 5 minutes of the Texas Rangers.
Yeah,
Nothing crazy so far that we've done. We've lost, sadly, my one of my favorite players on the Rangers. We lost Mitch Garver.
yeah, man. Mitch Garver, he wasn't my favorite player
You hated on him.
for.
No, you hated him.
You know what? I mean,
No, 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 no.
it
You
was just a
despise.
little bit of a joke, but
No.
yeah, I didn't love Mitch Garver, mainly because of his defense. I hated Mitch Garver as a catcher. I couldn't stand having
Him
Mitch Garver
DHing was
behind the
amazing
plate,
though.
but as a DH, I loved Mitch Garver, and it was kind of an ongoing joke of. Xavier Carson would say, "Oh, that's Carter's favorite player," because they knew I didn't like him when he was playing catcher. But in reality, when he was playing DH, I thoroughly enjoyed Mitch Garver playing for us, and it's gonna be a little sad to see him leave, especially to a team like Seattle that
Yes,
is
but
in division.
yes, but he was just asking for too much money. I feel like as a DH and a secondary catcher, asking for that much money,
Yeah,
it hurts to say, but I'm happy we kind of let him go because I don't
yeah,
want to pay that much for a DH. That yes, he's an amazing DH, but sometimes he doesn't get it going. I'll be honest.
yeah. I mean, for sure. And while it's not easy to find a DH of his skill, I think that it's way better to just hopefully be able to find one. Maybe we play Wyatt Langford in that DH role. Wyatt
Mhm.
Langford was doing so good in the minors. He went from single A all the way to I think double or
The,
triple A in the span of like 3 months.
I think it was
And
triple, yeah.
that's crazy. I mean, the last player that I saw do that was like Juan Soto, And I'm not gonna say that Wyatt Langford is gonna be like a Juan Soto region, but
Maybe he can be better.
maybe he is gonna be a Juan Soto region. Maybe he's gonna have Juan Soto's bat and the outfield abilities because he does have the ability in the outfield.
Absolutely.
So maybe we're keeping that DH spot for Wyatt Langford to see what he can do. But in the case that he can't do it, I definitely think we need to look at who is gonna fill in that role. Because for the most part, everything but the starting rotation and that DH spot is pretty set.
Absolutely. And we also had a recent, not really recent, it was on December 14th. We signed another relief, right? It was a relief pitcher, correct? Tyler
Mm-hmm.
Mayhill? Does I say his
Mm-hmm.
name? Mayhill? For
Yeah.
the next, this season and the season after. What do you know about him?
Nothing.
Nothing. Me either. I was really hoping you would know
Nothing.
something.
I don't know anything about him.
I never heard of his name before. I really hope he comes in there and man, I'm not gonna expect much. Like I said, we
Right.
don't know him. But
mean,
if he can show us that he can be a key part for our relief pitchers
yeah.
and win us some games,
I
oh
mean,
man,
his whip and his ERA doesn't look too bad. So
Mhm.
I think that for the most part we'll be good there. And I think we've signed another pitcher to
Yes.
our minor league contract, and we
Uh,
signed a starter as well, right? And
uh,
the starter is gonna be out for like half the season, no?
uh, we have another signing on December 5th. Sorry I didn't tell y'all. I said it on Downtown Re-Up though.
On the Instagram.
No, we had a 1 year deal just for this season with right-handed pitcher Kirby Yates.
Mm-hmm. I know
He
about him.
went 7-2 last season with a 3.28 ERA.
Mm-hmm.
I think honestly, as a pitcher, that's really good.
That's
7-2,
fantastic.
just putting him into rotation, especially with Jacob DeGrom not coming back to maybe mid to early season. Maybe
It's gonna
maybe.
it would be mid towards the end of the season, probably towards the All-Star break, I would say.
Yeah, it's just having him just to replace him for this moment to have we have more rotation for Nathan Evaldi and everybody else.
Yeah.
He can be a really key part for us to possibly make another run for the World Series.
Yeah, and I saw that we signed a pitcher that I think isn't gonna be able to play immediately. Can you look it up? We signed somebody, and I know Max Scherzer is gonna be out for a little bit too because he got surgery. But there's a pitcher that we signed, and we signed him for 2 years because like he's gonna miss like half of the first year.
What's his opinion on
Signing
Montgomery
Wednesday.
becoming a free agent?
About who?
Montgomery becoming a free agent?
Oh yeah, Montgomery becoming a free agent, man. That sucks, but I feel like a lot of people are blowing it out of proportion of us not being able to re-sign him because you think about it, we signed him at the trade deadline. So whenever you look back at it, you're like, 3/4 of the work was done by the trade deadline. When the Rangers looked their best, they didn't have Jordan Montgomery. Yes, Jordan Montgomery was fantastic in the playoffs and 100% of the reason, part of the reason that we won it. But we can't act like we can't get there again without him.
I mean,
You know?
shoot, I'm an Adolis Garcia fan, and the last couple games he was out of, I mean, we were all scared we weren't gonna do anything, we weren't gonna dominate, and even without Adolis, they went off. I mean, Adolis was hitting straight bombs. And my favorite thing about Adolis is he's an underdog. I mean, if you look at his history, dude was signed to two teams. He came straight from Cuba. He played in the Japanese league. He signed two teams, and they brought him to the Rangers as, hey, we're gonna keep you just to keep you, and after that, whatever happens to you happens to you. They tried to trade him off, and they couldn't get a team to take him. And originally, the Rangers weren't gonna even keep him. So this dude was an underdog the whole way through. He dominated in the whole World Series. I mean, I'm a big fan of him. That's why I got his jersey. He's an underdog.
Yeah.
Hope to see they extend his contract soon.
As of right now, we're sorry. As of right now, we don't see anything about the pitcher you were talking about. It maybe has not finalized the deal yet.
Yeah, I'm
looking
not
at all
sure.
their transactions
And
right now.
it might be Yates that he signed a 1+1 contract. I'm not sure, but I feel like I saw something like that. I guess I would have to double check. But I mean, let's see. I mean, we could just see here.
Oh, and also we also lost our hype man. Sadly, we hate to see him. I remember every time the World Series, we would just panel to that man every time.
We need to get rid of Love.
Yeah.
World Series. Oh my god.
Low. You want to get rid of who?
Love.
No, I ain't trying to get rid of him.
The whole World Series, man, he disappointed.
He did bad.
Yeah,
be honest,
yeah.
but
He's
I
not
don't
wrong.
want to get rid of him.
He's not wrong. Lowe didn't have the
No.
greatest playoffs, but he was fantastic at first base as far as defensively.
He still had some. He had a good home run. I'll give him.
Yeah,
I love him, so I don't really like to.
yeah,
talk bad about
and
him.
and he was a Silver Slugger just last year, so hopefully he'll be able to find that again.
Yes,
But
and we,
he
not only
definitely
that,
wasn't-
We have to kind of put that his mother was going through stuff. He was going through a lot of personal situations, so
True.
I know mentally he wasn't at his best, and I really hope this season coming up he can show everybody else that he's still that man to be first base, and he's still that person that can absolutely nuke balls and get just consistent over 300 every game like he used to.
Man.
Yeah.
One guy that I'll say, I guess he would be the Manny Machado of the Rangers, Jonah Heim. Man, they were making they were making memes about him just
Jonah
hitting the ball and missing and throwing the bat, slamming it on the ground like a 3-year-old. But I'll tell you what, when he was playing good, man, that man dominated. He wasn't
Yeah.
talked about a lot, but he dominated.
Yeah, man. I was pretty surprised with Jonah Heim. I kind of liked him last year, but this year I didn't expect for Jonah Heim to become an all-star at all. Man, that turnaround was incredible, and you could tell the impact that the team lost as far as hitting the catching position whenever he went down, and defensively, because not only is Jonah Heim a above average hitter, switch hitter for catcher, but he's one of the best defensive catchers in the league. I mean, his framing is immaculate.
That's why he went to the All-Star game. Honestly, should have been first as a catcher.
Yeah, I think he deserved to be the
Absolutely.
starting
It was
catcher.
such a snub. It made no sense. He was hitting well, doing amazing at the plate as well.
Yeah.
Defensive, like I feel like there was nothing wrong with his game. And
Yeah.
not only that, to keep doing that in the playoffs.
Yeah, and he was actually coming off of a wrist injury that he decided not to get surgery for, that he could have easily gotten surgery for and ended up being out for much longer.
Who knows what would
But
happen?
he just rehabbed it, and although he wasn't at 100%, he played through it, and he played great, and he gave us exactly what we needed to make the run that we did to the World Series. And I feel like that goes for everybody, you know?
Everybody play their part. Absolutely.
Everybody played their part. Even Max Scherzer, who you think and look back on, man, he didn't really do too much for us.
But
He did his part, you know.
Enough.
He was there enough. And if he hadn't played his part, if he hadn't done what he did, if he had played worse, maybe we wouldn't have won the World Series. So,
No.
you know, that you can't be looking back at it and saying like, oh, this person could have played better, this person could have played better, because at the end of the day, we won the World Series, and if you would have changed anything, you don't know if that still happens.
Yep, especially against the Astros when we had to have it was his first few games back, right, with the Astros,
Yeah,
and him coming back and just not having the greatest game his first game, and then coming back again. I think he came back second time in the series
yeah,
and having a much better game. Kind of held them, I think, to 2 or 1 run. And
yeah,
we kind of just blew it out the gates after that.
yeah, and that's, you know, when El Bombi made his mark on the world and on
Mhm.
Houston for forever. They're never gonna forget his name.
He's their owner.
They're gonna have
Yeah.
hate posters everywhere.
He's their fat man nuke, El Bombi. That's Houston's Hiroshima.
Okay. Alrighty.
How about Corey Seager being MVP? What's y'all's opinion on that?
I called it.
I had a feeling they were gonna do it. I was more of an Adolis Garcia fan, so I'm a little biased, but
Yeah,
I mean, he did his thing. I can't discredit the man. I don't know.
yeah, man. And you know, whenever we lost to Dolis Garcia, it was like, you know, fuck, you know. And Dolis Garcia was the heart and soul of the team at that time. But you know, Sigurd played his part. Simeon showed up in that last game. You know, I think he had
He had a terrible playoff.
he had terrible playoffs, but that last game when it mattered to close out the series,
Came up.
he went crazy. I mean, I think he had like 4 RBIs or 5 RBIs. He had a home run. Yeah, I mean, he did great. He showed up when it mattered. And like I said, you can't go back and say like, I wish Simeon played better during the playoffs. Well, okay, you know, that's cool to think about, but he showed up when it mattered. Everybody did what they had to do when it mattered, and we won the World Series.
Absolutely amazing season. I can't wait for spring training, preseason to start, so we can start watching a little bit of Rangers, and we can start telling y'all more what's going on with the Rangers.
Yeah,
so
man,
far it's been a little bit of a
I'm hyped
hiatus.
to see Wyatt Langford in spring training. He's for sure gonna be there.
absolutely.
So I definitely want to see how he goes up against, you know, close to MLB ready players, because that's what you're probably gonna see.
In
Probably
spring
close
training,
to
yeah.
MLB ready players. Some maybe he'll go against some MLB ready players. You know, maybe some teams will throw out their starters and he'll be able to see some at bats against them. But you know, if he lights it up in spring training, I think that he should stay, and I think that he should DH or at least be on the bench, because it's gonna be important to see Wyatt Langford develop, because he's gonna be in our outfield soon, and if he's not gonna be in our outfield soon, I hope he's gonna be our DH, because
Absolutely.
what a bat he has on him, as far as we've seen through the minor leagues so far.
If we don't see him this year, we are 100% seeing him next year. In
Yeah,
that lineup.
and I think even if he doesn't start the season with us, he's definitely gonna be a September call up or November,
Just like Evan Carter.
just like Evan Carter was, and I expect nothing less than what Evan Carter did, which is a very high bar,
yeah.
but I have high hopes for him, man. He has looked amazing, and I'm really excited to see
We
him.
will have a crazy outfield for sure next year.
I hope to see
Crazy
him at the
athletic.
ballpark.
What would y'all think about if Langford develops enough? Actually, nah. I wouldn't
No,
like that.
say it.
I was gonna say, what if we put him in right instead of Adolis? But I love Adolis's arm out there, bro.
No, yeah, keep him on
His
right.
arm
and
is
then
crazy.
Evan
And
Carter left.
Evan Carter left, and Tavares in center.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't beat that, man. Tavares is
Tavares with the
so good, and Tavares at DH would make zero sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, never mind. No, we're not doing that.
No.
I hope they go to the ballpark and go see them. The best thing about being a Rangers fan was one. I mean, we haven't seen something this big in 7, 8 years. I'm a Rangers fan. I mean, shoot, I cried when they won. But the worst thing, and it's not exactly the worst, but the worst thing is being a team that just dominated the series. Those prices of tickets, man. I don't think I'm ever gonna see cheap tickets ever
Oh,
again.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we used to go like 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Or maybe going one time.
Yeah, man. I did see some cheap tickets, but you're probably just if you want cheap tickets, you're probably gonna have to go during the middle of the week in the middle of the day to one of those games because those Saturday, Friday
Friday,
night,
those are
Sunday
over
during the
100.
day, those tickets are gonna be expensive. But as being college kids and Tony, what are you gonna be doing?
Um, I'm a welder, and if everything goes to plan, maybe in March I should be shipping out to the Marines.
Okay, well, maybe he won't be here for the baseball season. But
He's gonna be
as far as
gone.
me and Xavier, we're both gonna be in
will
college,
be
so we
here.
will be there. So yeah, I mean that's exciting. But yeah, man, I mean, any ending remarks from you guys before we wrap it up here?
Spurs are a terrible team.
Yeah,
Tottenham
Tottenham Hotspur
Spurs,
suck.
terrible.
In case
Absolutely
anybody wanted to
atrocious.
know that, Chelsea's 1,000 times better. And if you have anything to say about it, look at your trophy cabinet and compare it to ours.
Where was Heung Son during that game? Absolutely nowhere. Well, actually, he had an assist, but whatever. That was in like extra time. That's it.
Also, Christian Pulisic is the best player in the world. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Stars are gonna dominate tonight. W.
Yep. 7 p.m. Watch
Love
the
the
game.
Stars.
All
7
right,
to 0.
everybody.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Downtown re-up out.